Hello everyone, Tabitha here. So in my comments, I have gotten a lot. Have you ever tried Della Magna or Wallace Seymour? And so I thought I would go ahead and bite the bullet, and I'll tell you why in a little bit, and go ahead and order some of the most expensive paints that I have ever come across. But I did go overboard. So we've got quite a few to swatch out. We have 4 Wallace Seymour here. Some of these are the vintage pigments. So we will go ahead and see how they swatch out. I'm looking forward to seeing how they dry in pans. And then this is where I really went a little overboard. This, I opened it because I couldn't resist and I had to check. They give you a nice little note, which I think that'll make a really nice little swatch card. Did I have it in frame? There we go. And then they had it all nicely wrapped. And then I got several from Della Magna. Hopefully I'm saying that correctly. And some of the most expensive colors, this lapis lazuli, hopefully I'm saying that one right, I think is the most expensive color that I have ever spent money on. But since I jumped ship and moved across country, I thought, why not? We're going to give these a shot. We might as well go big. All wrapped in beautiful gold. So I'm going to go ahead, get the swatch sheets ready, and have it all lined up. And we'll take a look at how these swatch out. And are they really worth the money? I am working on getting all the little foils off. I don't know how they get these wrapped. These little foils are so delicate, but everything is peeling off very easily. And I love that each one is labeled with name, number, all the pigment information, everything, which makes my life so much better. It truly, truly does. So let me get the rest of these unwrapped, and then we'll go over all the names, pigment information, and swatch them out. I got the chart all out, but since these are new, I thought I would see how they pour out. Going slow. Such a tiny little tube. And a little bit of binder separation. That's a little disappointing. Actually, quite a bit. All right, I'm going to stir that one up. And let's go ahead and do these other ones and see how they fare. We have the iron plum. And this one's pouring out just fine. And I'll fix these up a little bit off camera. The vermilion. This one had a little bit of ring around there. And binder separation. You know, I'm a little pickier just because they're so expensive that you kind of want to make sure that they're pretty much perfect. And this one, no issues. And this was the one that I couldn't pronounce, the Thio Indigo, which it's a red color, so the indigo doesn't make any sense to me. But we'll get to that later. All right, I am going to stir these, mix these, make these pretty pans, get this all on a palette, and we'll get going. Okay, that was a little messy. The vermilion, I don't know if you can see here, is a little bit sloshy and bubbly. The manganese seems to have mixed in just fine. So we will see how they paint out. I've got a little extra on this little thing that I was really stirring with. So let's get into it. Let's swatch these out. Let's see if these are worth monies. I don't like the binder separation, I'll be honest. You know, if it was a really inexpensive $2 tube or something, but these tubes were quite outrageously expensive. But I really wanted to give them a try, so I picked out only a few colors from there. And the Della Magna, they all look perfect coming right out. There's only one tiny little, I Hopefully you can see, maybe not. It's a tiny little crack in this paint on the red Luna. So we'll go over all the names and everything now. I keep repeating myself. I'm so out of my thing. I'm not in like my normal area. As I was saying earlier, I sold my house. I moved from Chicagoland to Phoenix area. This is the Manganese PB33 by Wallace Seymour. And the pigment is actually from the 1980s. And I don't know how he gets a hold of these pigments, but I mean, manganese blue is one of my ultimate favorite colors. I don't know what it is about it, but I just absolutely love the color. So we will see how this dries up. Let's give it a little extra water and kind of see how it does. If it does anything weird. All right, beautiful. Let me clean this up. Clean up. So I am totally out of my sorts. I am actually staying at my daughter's house while I look for my own place. And so I have a total makeshift thing going on here right now with me kind of standing in desks. So if I seem out of my sorts, you know exactly why now. My last son moved in with his girlfriend while he's still going to college. He was coming home for the summers and everything, so I got rid of all my children, and so I decided to come help down here, help my daughter with her babies, so my grandbabies, or I call them my G babies. This is the Genuine Woad Indigo NB1. Let's see how these... Now this is my very first time using any of these paints or even trying them out. Lots of people really like these two brands, but I had held off because they're so expensive, or at least for me in the United States, they're so expensive. Oh, that's really pretty. Really pretty color. And I'm using my normal hot pressed Saunders Waterford paper. It's basically my swatch book here, and it's like the fat pack from the fat pad, they call it, from Jackson's, and you can get it in like all the different, if you want it more textured. And they have the hot press, the cold press, and everything. I'm really big on my hot press papers. I don't know why, I've just always taken to them more. Vivianite. And I have a couple of natural Vivianites. We will have to do a lot of these on our comparisons because these are rare pigments, and that's why they were so expensive. And this one is a lot more gray than the last one. Hopefully I have enough lighting for you to see. I had actually made a couple of videos. These are all re-wetting beautifully, by the way. I had made a couple extra videos because of the whole move, and you know, my stuff is basically in storage, and so now this is the most expensive paint that I have ever owned, and in this tiny little one. And so I will swatch it out, and then I will read you their little thing on it, because I guess it's their best of lapis lazuli. I keep pronouncing that wrong. I apologize. So many things going on. Yeah, I basically got rid of like 75% of my stuff, all my old furniture, sold my house, went ahead and got rid of I had a Jeep, but it was getting older, so I unloaded that, so I need a car now too. But there was no sense in, you know, moving stuff is just so expensive, and storage is so expensive. So, you know, I was trying to weigh what is worth keeping. Obviously, keepsakes are worth keeping, pictures are worth keeping, my art supplies are worth keeping. But there was a lot of stuff that you don't realize you shove in the back of cabinets or something, and you don't really like need. That is gorgeous. That is really, really a gorgeous color. And so let me go ahead and set that down. It re-wet beautifully. I've never seen a lapis so rich and so vibrant as this one. So this is their little card that they kind of gave with it. I think it'll reflect too much. They say this rare watercolor is made with a genuine pigment extracted from the lapis lazuli stone according to historical process that involves the purification of the rock from impurities such as calcite and pyrite using natural resins, beeswax. Over long periods of time, the process gives the lapis pigment its unique intensity and brightness. Precious natural ultramarine was the blue reserved for the virgin cloak in the most valuable works of late medieval art and in the masterpieces of the great masters of the Renaissance. Its best quality is now called Fra Angelo Blue, and that's what they call this one, the Fra Angelo Blue. In homage to the wonderful use it was made by the great painter Bito Angelico. I'm horrible at names, absolutely. Well, if you guys have been with me for a while, you know I'm absolutely horrible with names, but I try really hard and I show pretty swatches. So if that interests you, don't forget to hit one of those buttons below. So now we're on to, this is kind of like one of those discontinued pigments, PB80, Benzimidazole Blue. So kind of an unusual one. And it looks a little green in the pan, but it paints out very blue. Very dark, very violety. It has a really weird warm cast on the top. I don't know if you can see that or not, but a really warm, weird warm cast. Almost like it looks green, but it paints out really, really purple. And it's really dark. Wow, pretty. So far, my opinion, first impressions and all, I know I'm being a little silly, but like I said, I'm kind of standing here, leaning over, trying to avoid the camera from bumping it all over the place because my setup is really rigged. And my first impressions, the Della Magna is really quite beautiful paints, and the Wallace Seymour, the binder separation, I'm a tad disappointed. I'll say that quietly because I know he's got a huge following and everything, but this is Indigo. It's got kind of like a texture on the top of this pan. It's not like perfectly smooth. It could just be the pigment has a lot of texture. And it's really pigmented. Wow, that is like super dark. And I barely dabbed this. I mean, like, it's not even, the top of the pan's not even fully wet. So quite impressed. I mean, these little half pans, even though they were kind of really a fortune, they're gonna go quite a long way if you only need to like tip your brush in it in the smallest amount. Very pretty. Now this is a totally new pigment coming up. I don't think I have any natural malachite. So, and the color looks really pretty. It's really quite pretty. Wow. You wouldn't think that the natural stone you'd get this vibrancy. And I think I always kind of stayed away from this color and the lapis because they didn't have any like heavy duty pigmentation to them. They were so light. And I'm like, well, I could just water something down for that. But everyone said these were beautiful and so saturated, and they are right. Really, really pretty. It's kind of wet, so the glare's on it. Let me just tip that up so you can see a little bit better. This is sap, PG8. Kind of an unusual to only have, usually saps are kind of mixed up, but look at that color. Ooh-wee. If you hear background noise, there is other people in this house, and now that I'm at my daughter's, I'm camping out with her for a little bit. PG10 Nickel Azo Green Yellow. That's a mouthful. I love trying out these unique pigments though. Ooh, it's a very yellow. Very pretty. It's super vibrant, but only without like, it's not like fluorescent vibrant. It's like a true vibrant. I hope you're not getting too much of a glare. I apologize if you are. I've got my light kind of hanging above. Magnetite, PBK 11. Super dark. So have any of you ever moved from a different state to state, or to another country, or what you could consider like a really large move? It's a lot. It takes a lot out of you. Big changes. I'll tell you, the weather's quite different. Chicagoland being on the much cooler side, although it does get hot in the summers. Down here, oh, it gets hot. It'd be hot right now. And we are to, this pan, it looks like it's already like drying on the top. It's the Iron Plum Wallace Seymour that I poured just a little bit ago. And it did get a skin on it already. And this is PB29, PR101. And this, I saw somebody swatch out. I think it might have been Natasha Newton. And I just really like the color. So anytime I see a color that I love, I go ahead and I write it down. And so I have this like running list of colors and things that I like, which is probably a good idea and a very bad idea, because there's always a list. Always something that I want. Do you guys put things in your basket at like Blick's or Jackson's, and then you just save it there for a while? And then you also, in addition to that, have a saved list? You have a problem. Violet Gray, PR102. Maybe a tiny bit more water on this one. And now it's going strong. I did not pre-wet any of these. You know me, I don't pre-wet pans on my first try. I do tend to moisten paints a little bit when I use them, but I like to see how they re-wet for my first impression. And this is very close to the iron plum next to it. This is the actual pigment though, and the iron plum is a mix. They are extremely close. You definitely don't need both of those. It's always hard to tell online too. You know, when you're seeing me swatch these out, you're thinking, oh, that looks really vibrant, but compared to the colors that you already have, you know, but hopefully this helps compared to the swatches that they have online at the stores or something like that. Raw Umber, PBR7. We're going to have a couple PBR7s. And this is what I would expect out of a raw umber. There wasn't too many surprises there. And then we have burnt sienna, which is also PBR7. That is very orange. Yeah, that burnt sienna is really, really orange. I'm kind of really liking it. This next one is Armenian Boil, PBR7, and let's see how this one goes. This is a lot browner. This is going to make a really pretty palette. Sorry if you can hear the kids playing in the background. This is really pretty too. I'm really liking the Della Magna watercolors. Sorry if I shook the camera a little bit. This one is Bohemian Gold Ochre, PY43. It's funny that, you know, we've seen PY43s and, you know, burnt siennas quite a bit, but it's amazing how the different brands just look so different. That's why I keep doing those little battle of the colors, because it's kind of fun to see all the brands next to each other, and maybe you can see if you like one over the other. Sometimes they're very similar and sometimes they are completely different. So if you're interested in that, I'll leave a playlist at the end on seeing some of the color comparisons. Quin Gold, PO49, the original Quin Gold here. And I love Quin Gold. I truly, truly love Quin Gold. And now that I'm in Arizona, you know, I'm thinking this is very much a sunset Sedona type color. I'm not up in Sedona, I'm more in the Phoenix area, but I am going to investigate many areas around this side of the world. I've been to this location before to help my daughter out, but I haven't, and I've been up to the Flagstaff area, but I haven't seen too much yet. So there's lots of adventuring to do for me That is stunningly beautiful, and I didn't expect less. Still de Grand, NY14. Looks really dark in the pan. Really dark. And recently I had gotten those naturals by Schminke, and this was one of my favorites out of it. So when I saw that Della Magna had it, I had to go ahead and give it a whirl. This one is a lot smoother than the Schminke one. Usually Schminkes are really smooth, but that natural line it had a totally different feel to it than the normal. This next one's called Red Lava, and this is the only one that had a hairline crack in it, but nothing, and there is no pigment information on this one, so I think it's just Red Lava. You can definitely feel the natural in this one. It has almost like a slight grittiness to it. Let's see if we can get that a little. Yeah, definitely very stone feeling. It's got like a gritty texture when I run the brush over it. Okay, now for my troublesome pouring job. I really mixed this one up. It was not liking it. It is very gushy. This is Vermilion. It didn't have a pigment number on it. It's supposed to be the pigments from the 1970s. And that is more than enough. It is extremely pigmented though, and it seems like even though it's kind of like a thin feel, hopefully when it dries down it'll have a little more grip to it or something, because it's really thin. It feels as thin as the water. It doesn't feel like there's any paint in it. But the color is stunning. So we can't hate on it. The color is beautiful. Yeah, really beautiful color. Purple Scarlet, PR175. And hopefully here I can set up the camera. I can actually do some face-to-face talking with all of you, and we can have some fun doing some painting. It's a whole life change in a good way. This was PR175. I don't know if I mentioned that. And this is Genuine Conceal, or however you pronounce that. The Natural Carmine. And I have two others that are the natural ones and are 4. And one is the Schminke, and I can't think of, Lutia is the other brand. And I did a comparison on the other two. I might have to add this one to that comparison. Wow, that is extremely vibrant. I think I missed a little corner there. There we go. And this one, the Thio Indigo, that looks very red in the pan, or purpley red, PR88. It's a very purpley color, or reddish purple. This had a skin on it from the pouring. It poured out quite nice, a little thicker than the other ones. But wow, that is a really pretty color. I love my cool tone reds. Seems just a tiny bit, there we go, like it was gripping a little too much. It just needed a little bit more water. Perfect. I am going to let these dry and we will get a closer look when they're all dried up, and you can tell me if you like any of them, you hate them all, or you don't think they're worth the money. All right, they're all dry. I went ahead and I put them in this extra tin that I had. I have one space left. So if you were going to add one color to this palette, what color would you add? What do you think that is missing that would make this palette just a little bit better? And let's go ahead and take a closer look as they are all dry. There are some gorgeous, gorgeous colors. I think some of them are very much worth the money. I think the Della Magna, just spectacular quality of colors. Little disappointed on the binder separation in these two colors, but they are very vintage pigments, and that could be part of the problem. This was supposed to be from the 1980s, and this pigment was supposed to be from the 1970s, but they were freshly made in today's, you know, I'm sure that the pigment was powdered pigment, but they just might mix differently. But they were interesting to try. I don't think this brand is my favorite, but we'll see how they dry in the pans. They were extremely pigmented, and the colors are absolutely gorgeous. The vermilion, this, and where's the other one? And this Thio Indigo, vermilion, manganese, and the iron plum. So absolutely gorgeous colors. I certainly didn't need the iron plum having this one, or vice versa. The iron plum does go a lot darker, but it is a mixed color as well, and all the rest of these are single pigments. But it's a color that I saw that I really wanted to try. I was influenced. So anyway, sorry for the kind of different format and me blabbing all about me. But I wanted to give you the download on why I didn't have a video last week and why there was some delays, or, you know, this video is kind of a little bit all over the place. But, you know, that's the way these things roll. I do this for fun. So I hope you enjoyed it. Maybe you saw a color you liked. Are these worth it to you? Are these not worth it to you? This color is so expensive, but wow. In person, the camera is definitely not doing it justice. In person, this is that Frey Angelico blue. And I mean, it's kind of nice. They give you a whole card on it and everything, telling about the history and why it's named that, and for the lapis and everything. Exquisite color in person, but you know, like, this palette is extremely expensive. So am I going to be afraid to use it? Probably not. I'll just dig right in. That's the way I roll. But let me know if you've gotten anything from these two companies, any brands that you've noticed that I haven't tried. I do have a couple on my list, and I'm kind of making a couple of colors here and there. Tell me what color that you think that I am missing in this palette. Maybe a true yellow. I don't really have, I mean, these are quite light, and these are very earthy. So we'll have to see what I come up with or what you suggest. So thank you so much for joining me and spending all this time with me, and hopefully I'll get a little better of a situation here where maybe I won't bump around so much and kind of talk half this way, half that way, when I'm not kind of like sitting in my spot, you know, when you're kind of off a little bit. But I appreciate you dealing with me and sticking with me. I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.